I no longer have to say that. Welcome everybody to Beers with Bill. It's my pleasure tonight to welcome back Graham Spence from Block 3 and the Village Beer Garden. Graham, welcome back on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
So, the first thing I've got to ask, what's it like on our new normal?
Yeah, I think we were just talking beforehand. It's definitely been interesting the last little bit, right? I'm not sure when I was last on, but back in just before Easter, like the week before Easter, we got the thing saying 100% capacity indoors, everything's open, and then 6 days later, you go back down to full lockdown for two months, and it's like what's happening? What's stuff's not making any sense, and so now I think it's nice to kind of get stuff rolling back and opening up a little bit more, and kind of hopefully get back to something of what was before. So
yeah, I'm sure it's a sort of a tentative start, because particularly anybody in industry, you keep wondering, is the government going to shut us down again?
yeah, I think it's tough, right? Like especially from from our perspective, for planning brews, and then also how we're packaging brews, like whether it's can or keg, um, staffing, yeah, just the whole gambit there. It's been a treat.
I'm sure it has. Which beer are we going to start with tonight?
So the first one I'm going to start with is the Hellas, and I just picked that one because I like it.
Well, that's a good reason to be drinking that one.
Yeah.
Why is that your favorite?
I don't know, it's just nice, easy drinking, and yeah, it's like a flavored beer. I think is the what we always call it. So just just good.
Perfect summer beer is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice. I mean, I think I've talked about that beer before on here. Yeah, a few times since I've done it. Usually I start with that one. I think you could probably go back into every single one of every time I've been on here, and I'm going to guarantee that it's been on here.
But that's okay. You were a stunt supporter of Kickoff in our day, and you've been a wonderful and supportive individual in this journey on Beers with Bill. So
yeah.
So I have to ask the question this way. There's that romance of being a brewery owner that doesn't face the reality, but do you think COVID's changed that idea of the romance?
I mean, I don't know. It's tough. Like, I think with any kind of business owner, like you, especially like a small business, like you have to wear so many different hats, and I don't like maybe the when you romanticize about owning a brewery, just think about drinking beer, which is fun, but then the other side of it is you have to be just be a salesperson, a marketer, human resources, logistics, production, accountant. So you have to wear and learn a ton of different things, which isn't really the fun part of it.
That's very true. You do wear a lot of hats when you're a small business owner.
Yeah.
They didn't teach you that in when you were learning to be an accountant?
Yeah. No, I mean, like you don't really get that kind of training. It's all on the spot. I think with anything here, right? You're figuring it out as you go, and anyone who says they aren't is a liar.
I can agree with that. I'm curious. Is there, thinking back to when you started, is there anything you would have done differently at day one if you'd known?
I don't know. I mean, it's like we kind of came in, like started up before. I mean, there was a number of breweries, but you know, since we've opened, there's probably been triple or quadruple uh, the amount of breweries that have opened, right? So, you know, maybe we had a chance to kind of take a bigger risk when we started and push more LCBO and that kind of thing. But I don't know how that would have worked. Like it's again, it's you don't know how that would have worked. I think we've always played it pretty, you know, like slow and steady, and I think that's kind of worked for us. But I don't know. I don't. That yeah, I don't know. I don't think there is anything that I would go back and do. It's just I there's it's always easy to sit here and say, like, in hindsight, you know, we would have brewed a lager from the beginning, or we would have done this, and but I don't know. You don't know what that would change in the outcome.
Yeah, but that's the things you learn running a brewery. Is
true.
you'll start out thinking this is what, you know, I love beer like this, but that's not what my client base likes.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, we've definitely shifted. I mean, our own personal tastes have shifted too, right? So, you know, we started off with mostly Belgian and English styles, and then we've kind of transitioned. We still do a bunch of the Belgian stuff, but you know, more lagers and kind of pale ales, IPAs as well.
Well, I will say that from a style perspective, you were, when I was at kickoff, the most consistent in style. We could, you know, I wouldn't have to look at the tap handle to know I was drinking a Block 3 style beer.
Mm-hmm.
You guys had that Belgian style down perfectly, and it was consistent throughout.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm sure I've asked you this question before, but I'm going to ask it again, and that is there any style of beer you wish you've tried that you haven't yet?
Um, at the brew, I don't know. I think, I mean, I'm gonna like, so when we first started, the big, like, one of the, you know, the hot styles, I don't know if you probably would remember, was like that Silversmith Black Lager, which was like, that went it was like a flash in the pan. It went like everywhere and then totally disappeared, and then just only out of their brewery, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I always, I don't drink black lagers because there's not really many out there, but I always thought that I liked that one. So maybe that would be one that that I would say that we've never brewed and I would try.
On a personal note, what would I find on your playlist right now, music wise?
My playlist. I'm going to be honest, and that I'm not a big music guy. I don't mind listening to music, but it doesn't matter. Like if you walk in the brewery in the morning and I'm the first one in there, I don't turn the music on, and the other guys think it's creepy, but I just and I'll be honest, it just zones out. It's just background noise for me. So yeah, I don't know. I can listen to anything except for country. That's where I push the limits.
I think everyone has that one genre that they're not fond of.
Exactly.
With everything that's been going on, the closure being down for so long and then coming back on, what are you doing to stay grounded this time around?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, we're just kind of rolling with the punches. And one of the things that we'll talk about later, you know, we took some of the time there to kind of look at some other stuff that we could do, and one of them is doing a cider out of the brewery. So we had to, you know, go through and get the different licensing for that. Yeah, I mean, it's just trying to. I think at this point right now is just trying to start getting stuff rolling again and get back to kind of full production.
Yeah. Like you said, it's trying to figure out, like, how many kegs do we put out of every batch versus how many cans.
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten caught a few times with that, where, like, we were good for a little bit. So at the beginning of this, we were doing bottles, right? So year and a half ago, everything was in bottles and kegs, and we knew that split perfectly. Like we knew it was, 3 rows of bottles, whatever the rest in kegs, and then during this we switched to cans, and then now and sometimes with lockdown, kegs don't really, like, the only people drinking the kegs is us, and so then it's trying to figure out, like, so it's 100% cans, but then as things open up, it's trying to figure out what's the threshold for with the cans in there. Is it more, do we have to change that kind of 60-40 split, or what is it? So
Yeah, I can imagine that's not an easy profile because nothing's the way it was.
no, it's I mean, and things will change too, right? Like we've offered the local delivery, and I don't think that's going away for anyone, because it's not always convenient to come up to St. Jacobs, and I know that. So it's I think that's a service that keeps going, and that again, with that in there, that changes the profile of how people are buying.
Katie made the remarks she didn't realize that there was a different licensing for making cider.
Yeah, I mean, once we get into the cider at the end there, I can go through that whole process. But yeah, the cider is on a wine license actually, because it's a fermented fruit.
Yes, that is interesting. What do you think the last little while was the hardest hurdle to overcome?
I think it's probably been just like getting staff back and making sure that like how we started bringing them back slow, or bringing new staff on slower, just so that, like, I don't want to have to lay the people off again. That sucked. So we're trying to make sure that we can, even if there is a lockdown, that we have, like, it's that we have the staff that we need for that. And so it's just kind of playing that and making sure that we're staffed enough, but I don't want to get too comfortable with having more staff in there and then having in 2 weeks having to say see you later. Yeah, we'll call you when, who knows.
Yeah. And I can imagine too the fact now that you've got 2 patios, one at the beer garden, one at the brewery.
Yeah,
that staffing becomes quite a challenge.
For sure, absolutely, yeah. I mean, and I think the good part, I think with the beer garden, we can lean on some of the overstaffing there to help out at the brewery if needed. But yeah, it's fun.
What beer are we going to talk about next?
Well, I was debating between the cryotherapy and the Mo Money Mo Problems. So I mean, let's go for the cryo. Yeah. All right, so yeah, this one is like just a American Pale Ale with, I believe it is Citra. No, it's Mosaic. So we're using like the lupulin powder, which is like so if you look at the hop cone in the middle, like there's like the bunch of leaves, and then I don't know what the process is, but they take out the kind of like the powder in the mid, or like the concentrate or the flower part in the middle, and kind of gives it a more concentrated hop flavor. So I mean, this one, yeah, it's for me. It's just nice. It's again easy drinking. It's a little bit of citrus, like tropical fruit note to it. A little bit of bitterness, but not too much. I think it's one that you could have a few of, and it's not gonna like dry out your mouth or kill your palate. We should ask the IPA experts here, Terry and Emma. Don't get shy. Don't get shy. Come on.
delicious.
There we go. Experts. They're the experts.
You can't get a better, more positive response than that, man. Delicious. What a great endorsement.
There we go.
Troy's curious, kind of right now with things starting to reopen, what's the licensee sales like?
Yeah, it's kind of up and down. I think they're still trying to figure out their stuff too, right? Obviously, if before, when you just had patios available, you know, that's limited seating, and now with indoors going, they're kind of still figuring out that. So I think we've had one weekend with in some indoor seating. So, and it's picking up, but I mean, there's so many changes in that landscape, right? You know, places like Kickoff. I'm trying to figure. There's a few others that just aren't around anymore, right? And so I think we're gonna have to start getting out and doing that, putting that sales hat back on, and seeing what's around, and trying to get more Block3 out there.
And, you know, from a point of view of a licensee, I imagine they're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, most of them probably don't want to see someone coming in trying to sell the beer at this point. I wouldn't.
No, I'm more concerned about how am I reopening and what's this going to look like.
Exactly.
Yeah. And everyone was a little bit tentative there the first couple of weeks of reopening just because of the past actions of our government.
Yeah, I mean, and I know there is like so now, and now as a licensee, you can have like on-site bottle shop to go, right? We haven't really kind of dealt much with that, so I'd be interested actually from the consumer side to ask anyone here if, you know, what their experiences have been, and like what it looks like.
So Terry and Emery, I'll get back to Cam's question, but Terry and Emery are curious, a living wage employer. I'm wondering if you can give us a little bit background on that.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, part of, you know, as we were going through this year, and you know, we were having to kind of lay off and bring back and lay off and bring back employees. We kind of just thought that it was, you know, when we were looking at how we can be a better employer, that was one of the things that kind of jumped out and said, like, this is something that we can do. And, you know, we had always paid above minimum wage, and so we were, and when we looked at it, we weren't far off from what it meant, or what the rate was for this area. So we, you know, for us, it was a no-brainer to kind of just bump everyone up and say, you know, this is what we're doing, and you know, we want to support you and make this place a better place to work. So
okay. So Cam's curious about using cask for aging beer.
yeah.
He wondered if you could talk a little bit about the different casks based on, you know, like whether it's a wine cask or a bourbon cask, and the nuances and changes that it makes in the beer.
Yeah, so I mean, it depends. So a lot of ours are used wine barrels. We don't have, I don't think we have any bourbon. They're all used mostly Ontario, either red or white. So the first time that you fill, you're going to get a lot of that characteristic of what was in there before. So if it's wine, it'll be mostly like that red wine characteristic, or that white wine characteristic, or bourbon, you'll get that strong bourbon note. And the second time you might get a little bit, but then eventually it'll kind of become more neutral. And that's kind of where that's like, you'll get more of the oak, vanilla tannins, and that's where we kind of use those for souring. So like the one beer that we'll taste next, that's a from a barrel that's been used 2 or 3, or barrels that have been used 3 times. So the flavor characteristic is you still get that oak and that like that like barnyard funk it from it, but you don't get the red wine that was originally in that barrel.
So I'm curious, when you're sour a beer, hey, put a sour beer in a barrel, do
Mm-hmm.
you eventually start getting the sour beer tones coming out of the barrel if you were to put something else in it?
Yeah, so like the yeast kind of can live in the wood. Wood's porous, so the yeast kind of stays in there. So once that barrel has each barrel has its own kind of culture. So I could put the same beer in two different barrels and it'll come out totally different. So I mean, we've had that where we've had to dump, one or two barrels from the same batch. Just something, it tastes like vinegar in one and tastes really nice in the other.
Yes, Katie thinks someone should write a book about kid's book about yeast hanging out in the barrel. I know from my work in the wine industry that every barrel has a personality.
Yeah.
And it'll express that personality, whatever you put in it.
Yeah, and each one's different, and so like if you find a good barrel, you want to keep using it. And oh yeah, pie.
Is there a point where you would give the barrel up?
I think we're I mean, we'll still continue doing the barrels. We're going to start kind of toning back on them a bit. I've kind of noticed that it's not as. I think more people are doing that. Like there's more breweries out there, more people doing it. And there's some breweries that just focus almost exclusively on barrel aged beer. So it's kind of it's such a niche that we're going to kind of trim back our barrel collection, and then kind of stick to releasing, just some really good barrel aged beer, like maybe 5 or 6 batches a year.
Okay. Going down a different direction.
Yeah, I mean it's this. Yeah, we're not. I think what we kind of started accumulating a bunch, and we were pumping out 2 or 3 barrel aged releases a month, which at a time, which is pretty crazy. And I just like for us right now, that market just doesn't exist to sell those. So.
What's been the best change because of COVID for your brewery?
I think I don't know if it was because of COVID, but we were kind of in the process of switching over to cans, and then I think it moved us quicker, and I think that's really helped us like improve efficiency, and kind of send out a better packaged product.
Okay.
It's also a lot of, I mean, you mentioned before, so we do some side canning for other breweries in town, so that it allows us to kind of help out some other people as well that aren't big enough to can their beer. So
You running your canning line every day or once a week? How's that?
we run it three or 4 times a week.
Okay. How's the supply of cans right now?
We haven't had an issue. I know some, depending on the manufacturer, some are, especially small cans. But I'm going to knock on wood here, and that we've been able to get the cans that we want. So.
Well, that's good. That's good. You haven't had to like buy more than like trail loads at a time?
No, not yet. And I hope not.
Yeah.
If you do, I mean, you get the savings. You just got to find a place to store all of them.
That's what I was going to say. Storage would then become quite a problematic issue.
Yes.
because you're basically moving air around all the time.
Well, yeah, they're so light. Like a full skid of cans, you can just drag what by yourself. It's kind of it's funny when you look at it. You're thinking like, oh man, it's gonna be heavy, and then it's like, nope. The three of like we don't have a loading dock at the brewery, so when they deliver it, three of us just unload them by hand. We just lift the skid off the truck and put it on our in the building.
You want to talk a little bit about the Village Beer Garden?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think actually this week we started. Today was the first day, so we're open now Tuesday to Sunday. And the hours on the Tuesday, Wednesday might fluctuate, but right now it's 12 to 8. Yeah, it's seems to be going well. We've got the menu, shorter menu. We're going to start doing some different features, and as I think I mentioned before on the previous episode, our chef is Mexican, so Mexican themed menu, and then obviously Block3 beer. Kind of focus like we've got 6 taps there, so we usually have the Hellas, the Village Lager, Fickle Mistress, King Street, a pale ale, and then something else that we have.
Peter asked an interesting question. He was wondering if you had no concern about running a business and making money, what beer would you brew?
I'd probably brew the Hellas. I like it. I know it's like I see some of that, like the big triple IPAs or double IPAs, and the amount of hops that go in there. I think that some breweries don't really have concern about about the cost on there, because it's like it's crazy, and all the losses you get.
Jen's curious if the food at the beer garden ever influences the beer that you brew at the brewery.
Not really. I mean, if you were to think about the kind of like big Mexican beers, it's like the Sol or Corona, which are light lagers essentially, which is kind of similar to the Hellas. And then the other big one would be Negro Modelo, which is a Vienna lager, so kind of the village lager. So I mean, by having those German lager Hellas, or the German influenced beers, they kind of fit right in with that Mexican menu. And then the rest of it is just kind of fill out the list. I mean, I think it would be interesting to do kind of like a twist or a collab on something. A while ago, we did with actually Taco Farm. I think we did it was called Senior Ose, which was like a cilantro and lime saison. So I mean, something like that, like playing on some different ingredients would be fun. I just probably wouldn't go more. I'd go more towards that style, like the lightly spiced versus like a one with like jalapenos or hot peppers. I just not a fan of that. So.
Cam's curious about your opinion of switching to cans, because he likes the tactile sensation of holding a glass bottle in his hand.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, it is yeah, I think if you grab that bottle, it feels like more substantial, right? It's heavier, it's thicker, it's not, you're not going to squish it, and but I think the can is, it's, as I said, like we don't have a loading dock, and when we were for 7 years we unloaded them like a skid of bottles off of the back of a tailgate, and there was more than one time where that skid fell over onto the deck, and yeah, so for us, like it's kind of just they're easy. We can take them off, move them around. And especially if you're shipping around, there's less breakage, less chance of breakage. If you're shipping with Canada Post, who knows what happens? But yeah, I think it's just more. It's not that I don't like bottles. I think the can is just for us anyway. Right now, more convenient format.
I'm just laughing about the little dialogue going on about pouring it into a glass instead of bottle. What's the next beer we're going to taste?
I was going to go with the series of barrel-aged blends. I'm going to go grab a bottle opener before so I can open that. Just give me a second. All right. Yeah, so this is, so if anyone grabbed the pack, we had two bottled beers in there just for you, Cam. The first one was the Tafel beer, so like a Belgian table beer that was in barrel for probably 2 years. And then the second one is this one. So this series of barrel aged blend is actually it's a one we did with Blood Brothers. So they brought down. So we sat down with them. We pulled samples from our barrels, pulled samples from their barrels, kind of made up a blend, and so this was the winning combo. So this is the base beer from us is the Tafel beer, which is the other bottle beer that was in that pack. And then a barrel aged saison from them. So, I mean, just on the nose, like super fruity. It's kind of like pineapple, citrus. Tart. It's got that like vanilla tannin note, and then it's quite nice. It's not really oaky. It's not like overly sour. It's got some nice complexities to it. Yeah.
Now, when you're aging a sour beer in a barrel, and this is just my personal question, does the acidic part of it prevent pulling the oak flavor into the beer?
What's that?
So the acidic part of the sour beer slow down the absorption of the tannins.
I don't know. It might. I think at some point the liquid buildup in that so the oak when the oak flavor kind of comes from when they toast the barrel, right? So it's more of that toasted oak that you're getting. So I think by the time you use it enough times, like, so if you think about a used wine barrel for so in this case, it was used once or twice for wine. So that's pulling some of that oak out. That's used, it was used twice for us. So this is the third time. So it's more of just a neutral character. So I don't think you get that big oakiness anymore. Now you can like recooper the barrel, which I think they scrape down and then retoast it, which you could then get more of that oak character out again. But I think after continuous usage, it just kind of, it's like if you're making a tea and the first one is nice and then the second one, if you kept going, you're not going to get that same kind of flavor characteristic out of it.
Okay. What do you think is new and exciting in the beer industry right now?
What is new and exciting? I'll be honest. I've not. I don't know. I just kind of. I've got some blinders on right now, but I know. I see a lot of people doing like smoothie, slushy beers, which I find kind of gross personally. Um, I don't know. We try not to keep up with like the trends that are happening, and just kind of brew our beer and and brew it well.
Okay. Just on a side note, the slushy beer trend has now transferred itself into you can get the slushy beer in a freezy tube.
What? Where?
Do the link. Third Moon's doing it. I just
Yeah.
posted the link.
Thank you.
They look
Yes.
awesome.
Third
I mean-
Moon's doing it. You can only buy them at the brewery. You can't order them ahead of time or do a pickup. You have to go to the brewery and get them.
Oddly, they don't ship them.
Well, they can't. It will blow up.
No, I'm joking. I'm being sarcastic. Imagine your
it's-
can par lady with a
Oh, like
coffee,
that's what.
fruit.
And I mean, all power to them. And I know that, like there's something out there for everyone. So like I said, personally, not my thing. But if you can't ship your beer because it's going to explode, that's insane. And I couldn't imagine, like, I can sit here and tell everyone, drink your growler fresh, make sure you put this beer in the fridge. 50% of those people don't do that.
No, you do know that they don't do that.
And I think 50% is being generous. I just think that it's just such a, it's a quality risk. It's a risk, right? You're putting your I don't know. But I also think that they're, and I'm going to put Third Moon out, and it's, they've got that kind of cachet with people in the beer community, or that follow craft beer. So I would imagine that most of their customers would probably know that it needs to be refrigerated and drink that fresh and whatnot. But
Well, when I was down there picking up the beer for Third Moon being on the show, they were really adamant about making sure that like every can that was a slushy had a sticker on it that said it must be kept in the refrigerator. Coca-Cola had a stint back in the mid 70s where they actually had bottles of Coke blowing up on the store shelves.
yeah, I guess yeast might have got in that can, right? They might not have been rinsed, right? There's like, think of that sugary liquid that would have been
Sugary liquid, not cleaned properly, and you've got a heavy carbonated product to begin with.
Yeah, and then you're going on a warm shelf for who knows how long.
Yep. Yeah. And I remember having one of those 750 ml glass bottles back then. Just as I cracked it open, it exploded in my hand.
Well, there was the big thing actually at the LCBO 3 years ago, when people were submitting or sending in fruited beers or radlers, and it was local producers, like local Ontario producers that were doing this, but they didn't re-ferment the fruit, right? So they just put the fruit in at the end of package, or just before packaging, and then we're sending it out to the LCBO. It's like, I mean, I'm not a scientist, and I know it's not smart. And yeah, there was some big recalls, and I think that it's pretty crazy, like, and dangerous if you're.
Yeah, the phone call you never want to get from the LCBO. Please come and pick up your beer. It's exploding in the warehouse.
Yeah, you don't want that.
So after the cider, because we're going to talk about that later, what's next for Block 3?
I think it's just kind of focusing on kind of getting back up and rolling, and then probably do a few more different like fun things with the cider. And I think we want to start. We kind of we've gotten away from a little bit, and it's been hard to do a bit more experimentation. So I think we'll probably get back and doing having a little bit more fun and doing some some little things like that. We probably got to get back and package some more spontaneous beer. Yeah, we have a few little side fun projects that we like to keep going, and but yeah, I think just we've kind of over the last year and a half, kind of going back to old recipes that were old faithfuls, I guess. And I think it'll be nice to kind of get some new stuff going, but not slushies.
Well, the last year and a half for most businesses have been just a process of making sure we could survive.
6 epic conflicts. The most coveted city in the world. Jerusalem, city of...
So what's
There
next
we
for
go.
Graham?
I don't know. Yeah, I think just I mean, I got the family wise, I got the kids starting daycare and school in September, so that'll be fun. But yeah, I think it's just kind of continuing to help grow the business, and kind of we're always keeping an eye out for something that new and exciting that we can do with it. So I don't know.
You're going to get a chance to go on vacation?
Actually, I just got back. We were up in Collingwood for the past couple of days. So
Okay, so you did get a break. That's good,
yes,
even if it's only a couple days.
yeah. We left Friday and just got back today, so it was nice. Got to see some family that we hadn't seen for a while.
What book would I find on your nightstand right now?
The last one I read was Beauties by James Duthie. It's a bunch of hockey stories. And then I think the one I have right now is I'm drawing a blank on the name, but the basis is a guy a hostage negotiator, and how to kind of negotiate your way through life.
Okay. Didn't mean to put you on the spot there.
No, I think it's about more, not like, but like, with your dealing with different, aspects and how you negotiate, with customers or clients and that kind of, just, I don't know. It's interesting so far, but I put it down for a little bit and I got to pick it back up. Things got busy.
Derek's curious if it's good to learn from a hostage negotiator how to deal with toddlers.
No, they are terrorists.
They're also the best artists of negotiation you can find.
Yeah, you can't. Once they say they know, well, the one only knows no. He doesn't know yes yet. So, so he wins every time.
I'm curious. Talk to us about the cider.
All right. Should we get into that?
We're into that.
All right. So, if you guys, I don't know if anyone has it, but if you do have it, there's either a black or silver can. The black can is the last batch. The silver can is the current batch, which is the first legal batch that we've done. Yeah, so we were when we had with the beer garden, I guess. We were just we were trying to stick to local producers, and we just had some major quality issues with getting some ciders locally, and we're the one guy that we work with. he talked about his uncle owns an apple farm and so he had talked about doing some cider. So I said, okay, well, let's just try a batch, whatever. And it turned out really nice. And we're like, okay, like what does it look like to get a cider license? And it turns out you need to get a wine license. So we went through. So we started this back in October. So we applied for a wine license, and then had to go through all the steps. We had to get a new excise license, even though you don't pay excise on it. It's insane. We just got the approval last week to sell it. So I mean, you're talking 10 months of time wasting. So I don't know. I think the cider is nice. It's dry. It's crisp. Tastes like apple. Yeah, it's just we got fresh juice from Martin's Apples. They're right in town in St. Jacobs, and we towed it over. We're using our Belgian yeast strain in this actually. So it does have some beer characteristic to it. But yeah, I think it's just nice, easy drinking, and a little heavier than it's about 6.8%. So a little heavier than normal, but no back sweeten. It's literally just apples, yeast, and then that's it.
So what was it like making the cider the first time?
Yeah, I mean, we got the apples in. We were I think our biggest debate was about how we want, like, what yeast we wanted to pitch into it. I know a lot of cider makers use like a wine or champagne yeast, but we thought that to kind of differentiate it, and since we always have it on hand, it might make sense to use a beer yeast. So we didn't really know how it would turn out. I think start to finish, it took about 3.5 weeks to ferment, and then we kind of let it settle out for another week, and then package. So it's about a month, let's say, from start to finish for us. The guys like it because it's easier. You don't have to. We're not hauling grain up and dumping that, raking it out, bringing it over to the farmer. It just we go pick up the juice that day, the day that it's pressed, and a tote, unload it, and then put yeast in it. So. Yeah, for those of you that have tried it or that have it, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. So.
Well, right now there was a little battle on who was going to be the first one to put it in Untapped, but it seems that Emma won that one.
There we go.
When Canada Post finally brings me my package, I'll let you know what I think of the cider.
Yeah, let me know. I mean, I'm critical, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yep. So when are you going to start doing wine?
I mean, realistically, you can only do the wine once a year, right? I guess at harvest. So we are going to look definitely at getting in some juice, Ontario juice, and doing a batch, because why not? So I'll bring you in. You can be our wine maker.
An interesting process, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, after 10 months of frustration of finally getting the license, you should probably at least do one wine.
Well, I think why not, right? So
yeah. Yeah. Might as well. You might as well. So I'm curious, what's the best advice you've ever been given?
I think it's just listen to your gut. I think sometimes you can, if you're, in a situation where you're kind of trying to figure out what to do, and I think you can overthink it. and then kind of, either take too long to react, or talk yourself out of the right decision. So, you're usually your gut, you have a kind of a nice, you have an idea of what makes sense. And that to me has kind of been one of the best pieces of advice I've been given.
What do you think the one thing the craft beer industry is doing right now?
What are we doing right? I think, we like to a lot of the breweries like support other local businesses through, or local suppliers, or producers through, we get our labels are all made in or done in Kitchener. Our can suppliers based out of the province, and our malt supplier, and some of our hops come from Ontario as well. So I think, that's one of the things that we do well is, we're asking our customer or consumers or customers to kind of support locals. So, it makes sense if we're also doing the same on the stuff that we're buying to make the product.
How has COVID changed the message, or how you message people?
Yeah, I think it's made like the social media and mailing list or whatever, that kind of like the digital side of things more important. You're not getting that as much face-to-face or customer interaction that you would normally get. And so you got to be, better, I guess, or better at doing, like the better you are at doing that, I think the more engaging you can be with that, the more results you'll see.
And I got one last question for you.
All right.
If you could spend a day brewing beer with one person, who would that be?
Oh,
And don't say Cam Bartel, okay?
no, I'm trying to think. I would love to go over to like Cantillon or Dre Fontaine and kind of see that process of what they're doing, like how their whole brewing process, and bottling and tasting, like their blending process works.
Okay. Graham, thank you for being my guest tonight.
Yeah, no worries.
I appreciate always listening to your insights in the business.
Mm-hmm.
Remind everybody, next week, Nick from Beer Lab is going to be on, and message me with your thoughts on about the Eric the following week, Eric Solis from the Indigenous Brew Crew, about getting the beer in from Ottawa, because we probably need to place that order on Friday to make sure it gets here. And